sugar and add all the herbs and stuff that you want to. But you can make a savory style cake, but this is definitely sweet. The cake has about 7 tablespoons of sugar in it, which is not like overly sweet, to be honest, given some of the recipes we know. But it is still definitely this is a nice cake for a breakfast or a tea. If you're having, a cup of tea at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it comes in. It's a nice type of dish for that. All right, now that I already washed my hands because I knew this was going to happen.
Sketchy Flay's in the house. She said hello.
Oh, Sketchy Flay. Folks, if you have not checked out our new Monday night series, Sketchy Chef is taking challengers to a 1 hour cook-off. And the first 2 episodes have been phenomenal. I just finished watching them, the second episode, because I had to miss it. And then the people who watch it get a chance to then give feedback and see how it works. Who was the winner? Who did the best presentation of how much could be done in an hour? It was incredible. Now, I want to tell you what I just did. So everybody knows you can grease your pan and you put your parchment paper in it. Guess what? If you grease the pan first, put the parchment paper down, take it out and flip it over, your parchment paper is now greased on both sides. You don't have to do it a second time. There's enough butter in this case that it'll transfer to the flip side parchment. So it just, because once you put your parchment paper in, it's really just to help remove the cake.
Well, that's
all right,
there, Frank.
Yeah, I learned that, and it's one of my it's a great tip actually, and I've come in handy a lot. All right, so this is I know this is a 2-bowl dish. That's why I love this. It's that simple. 2 bowls. That's it. First thing you're going to do is we want to preheat my oven. I got my little portable oven out here at 350 degrees. I've already lined my springform pan. This is a 9-inch pan. You can use a brownie pan or an oval casserole dish. Totally fine. The difference with that is if you want to take it out, you have to make sure you line the parchment over the sides like a brownie style so you can lift it out. But it has to be super cold and set. Otherwise, it's warm and it'll crumble, and just serve it like I would serve that way with a spoon instead of a spatula once it's cool. So I'm going to make the filling first, all right? Then the filling is pretty simple. Ricotta cheese. Now, I love ricotta cheese. Matter of fact, one of my favorite ways to use ricotta cheese is not actually even a super fancy method. Is my mother would make pasta, especially when funds were low, drain the pasta, and then take 2 or 3 tablespoons of ricotta cheese right in the pasta. Maybe sometimes if she had a little bit of tomato paste, she'd throw that in, mix it up, throw in fresh peas, and we had dinner. Cracked pepper, it was it. Dinner was done.
You haven't even started yet, and you're already getting delivery requests.
I'm okay with it.
Sketchy Chef and Bama are together.
Oh, no. Is that where Bama is today?
They are in Texarkana, and they said they're going to paint the town tonight.
Oh, that's a scary, scary thought. Does that mean Sherry's going to come back with purple hair too?
I'm pretty sure TikTok videos to follow.
Good. All right. So I am putting 2 cups of ricotta cheese. Now this is one that I get. It's pretty accessible. If you get a ricotta cheese that you think is super watery, you can strain it overnight. It's totally fine, but I'm okay with it. It's not. This one isn't overly watery. Can you use part skim? Sure. Totally. If that's your diet preference. Can you use a cottage cheese for this? Which I know a lot of people have said that they don't like the texture of ricotta cheese. They think cottage cheese melts better. I don't know. I haven't tried it. I like the texture, so I would be a bad person to say. But I also know that sometimes it's easier to find a dairy-free version of ricotta cheese than it is cottage cheese than it is ricotta cheese. If you can find a dairy-free version, go for it.
I can't do cottage cheese.
I like cottage cheese. I always did. I even like it. I mean, I used to just love it. Little pepper, a little ground pepper on it, and that would and some eggs or egg salad, and I'd be happy. All
All
right,
right,
so I've got 2 cups in
everybody
here.
tap the screen. Tap the screen. Let's show Frank some love up here.
All right, so I got 2 cups of ricotta cheese, 7 tablespoons of just regular old sugar. You want to use super fine sugar? Go ahead. You want to use regular caster sugar? Go ahead. Sugar substitute will work fine. Pretty much will work as well. Now, I used a salted butter in the pan, so I'm not adding any extra salt to this at all right now because I already had salt in the butter. I'll add a little bit more salt in the shell. So I'm going to use and crack in 1 egg. Remember, this is a literally two pots. You're 1 bowl you're mixing, 1 you're doing dry, and that's it. And some lemon zest. Now, if you don't like lemons, I happen to love lemons. Use an orange. Actually, if you use an orange zest, you could add mini chocolate chips to this recipe and it would be great. Chocolate and orange, I think, goes much better than the lemon. All right. I zest upside down because I want to see how much zest 1 lemon gives me instead of just zesting down. I know. May not be the best way to do it, but it's how I do it. I also tend to have a hard hand. So if I'm not careful, I zest too deep and I get too much of the bitter pith. So I find by zesting upside down, I not only get a visual eye of how much zest I'm collecting, I also can control how heavy-handed I am with
Sketchy
it.
Flay said that's a good idea, Frank.
Well, there are a lot of, listen, I don't work in a kitchen. I don't have to be standard kitchen rules. This is my kitchen. You don't like it, don't eat. Go to the store, go to the restaurant. But I also know I like things to taste the way they're supposed to. So when I realized one day that I just, I'm a big guy. I'm heavy-handed with stuff. So I had to figure out how do I work around that? Because, if I was just doing it this way, I end up pushing too hard and I was getting things too bitter and I wasn't happy and I couldn't figure out why. All right. This is what we got cooking. 1 egg, 2 cups of ricotta cheese, 7 tablespoons of sugar. It could be any color sugar you like, and the zest of 1 lemon. Now, I'm also going to just lighten it up a little bit and put a little bit of the orange in it. Not much. I would say probably half. Just to give it some depth and dimension. You could do all lemon, it's totally fine. You could do all orange, it's fine. You could do lime, it's fine. I think it's really your preference. But like I said, if you like orange, then adding chocolate chips to this would be great. And it almost will be a little bit reminiscent of a cannoli filling at that point. All right, so this is my filling. Just going to blend this, incorporate it all together. Excuse me. You could actually make this an hour or so before, if you're trying to knock this out like I am in between my work meetings today.
Hello, Ann. Thanks for joining us.
And it just gets this lovely light yellow color with the eggs.
There you go.
And you see the zest. Okay, I just want to sit here and put honey in this and eat it. So that's always a challenge. All right, so that's now aside. It's ready to do its thing. Now I'm going to work on the crumb shell because I want to get this in the oven. My regular pan, this is one of my favorite pans. I use it a lot because I like the hook in order to mix. The glass one I use mostly to help people see what I'm doing. All right, so I'm going to use a regular flour. This is just an all-purpose flour. You can use gluten-free flour. It's not anything special. It's a standard flour you would have in your kitchen. And it's about 2¼ cups. To the flour, I am going to just, and this is much more in that element of a dump cake in that sense. It's going to be 1 more egg gets dropped in. And pop it in. And again, this is one of those foods that's going to be a very light color. It's not going to have a lot of rich color to it. This is a light dish. I am going to add 6 tablespoons of your favorite oil. You could use olive oil, but it's going to change the flavor.
ETM Sanders said that's a lovely workspace.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm so excited that we actually are getting some nice weather, at least for the moment. We have a chance to breathe.
Y'all had a lot of rain, haven't you?
It's been more rain than we've had in an incredible amount of years. Like, we're having floods, and it's not, our grounds, we've been in drought for so long that it's actually been quite scary. Now, this is going to get about, and I always double check to make sure I'm using powder, not soda, because I have made that mistake where I've mixed them up. And it's about 2 teaspoons go in. Again, not a fancy. Now, by the way, how many of you have the silicone muffin cups? You know that there are a lot of other uses for them? I use these when I'm baking, and I put all my seasonings, my salts, my baking sodas, or my seasonings when I want to have everything out, ready to go, because they're stiff enough to hold them, and I don't dirty, and they rinse out so easily. I don't dirty a whole plate just to put seasonings or sugars or small elements on. They work really well, and they also are a great landing pad for dirty tools to sit.
There you go.
Yeah, because I have always, and it's like, well, they're there. I'm not using them. Now, I am going to put some more zest in here as well.
Ashton says she has them and she makes eggs in them, and
oh yeah, I use them for everything.
Rick said he uses them in the air fryer.
Yep. There are 2 different types on the market. There's a thicker silicone muffin and then a thinner one. I prefer the thicker one, especially if I'm doing a heavier muffin base, or I've even made quick meatloaf meatballs in them, because it's basically the meatloaf mix, but you bake them in the muffin tin. And I like these because it keeps them easier to get out. And they cook, an entire meatloaf is going to take a little bit of time. This will actually go much quicker if you do them in the mentality of a meatball.
All right, the chef god's in the house. He says hello.
Hello. All right, why don't you tell everybody about FoodTokTV and Grub Match? I'm going to step away for 1 second and grab the sugar.
All right, everybody, you're watching FoodTokTV, Mentor SF. Please tap the screen, share the live. Be sure you follow FoodTokTV. Check out the website at foodtoktv.com. Check the creators out and the schedule, because somebody does it live every single day. And Grub Match is Monday night. Is going to be the 3rd episode of Grub Match with Sketchy Chef and IBD Warrior. So that'll be fun. So y'all got to come watch that 8 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Perfect. I have to say, can you imagine doing Grub Match and being able to be there on the other side of Trisha's counter, other than we'd be trying to taste things?
I'd be eating all the food.
Yeah. Folks, this is from Lock and Lock. It's one of my favorite brands. I've been a Lock and Lock user for 30 years. This is right up there like a Tupperware favorite. I love them. I have them for everything, and they work phenomenal. Matter of fact, I just did all my herbs and spices to a small version of this in my cabinet. All right. So we're going to be putting in 7 tablespoons of sugar. Since I know how much this was, I just used this as my measuring cup. I knew what the measurement was going to be already. And that's it. That's all that's going in the crumble. Okay?
Okay.
Now, here's the one thing. When I stepped away, I washed my hands again, because you know what I'm going to do now, right?
You're gonna mix it with your hands.
Yes, I'm squeezing
Are you
it. I'm
talking about
mixing it
walking?
because I want this to be more crumble. I don't want it to be smooth. I will tell you, this is not one of my favorite things to do, but it makes all the difference when you're just, all I'm doing, I'm going to show you. I'm just pressing the eggs, the sugar, the flour together. I want it to be crumbling.
Well, while you're getting your hands dirty, can you please repeat the ingredients in there again? Somebody missed.
Yes. So to this crumble shell, which is what I'm calling it, it's a crumb shell, we have 1 egg, 2¼ cups of all-purpose flour, about 7 tablespoons of sugar or your or sugar sweetener of your choice, 6 tablespoons of a vegetable oil. I do prefer a neutral vegetable oil versus an olive oil for this. But if you were going to use an olive oil, a good way to adapt it would then also to be a little bit of almond extract and some almond flour, or you could top it with a little bit of almond, and that will, I think olive oil and almond goes really nicely with the cheese filling. Along with 2 teaspoons of baking powder and about half of the zest of an orange.
Okay, and if you do want this recipe, it will be up on FoodTokTV.com.
Yes, I will get them up. We have recipes from our live scheduled right now through Sunday. So this one will go up. You'll see the live later today on YouTube, but I will have my recipe will go in the queue for this Sunday or Monday or Tuesday, depending on how many I've got to load still.
There you
All
go.
right. So it's like coarse sand right now, but if I grab it, it begins to see when you it'll hold its shape.
There you go.
I'm getting all the goodness off of my hands. All right.
And I'm sure you're gonna go wash them again. So I'll talk about Food Talk TV
I'm
while you
not going
do.
to wash them yet because I got to put them in the pan.
Oh, you got to put it in the pan.
So I'm going to put about 2/3 in the pan. Now this isn't a super high dish, so it's not going to have a lot of height to it. It's meant to be a little bit, maybe maybe that way. That's why I said it's really like a really nice tea cake, breakfast cake. It's great for something, you want a little bit lighter dessert, but you still want to be just a little bit fancy. So,
BK Powers is showing some love and sending some gifts. Thank you.
thank you. Hey, folks, there are 12 of us at Food Talk TV, and all of us have different approaches to our food. We learn from each other. I just made one of just like Granny's recipe the other day here at home, and of course, I screwed it up, so I didn't take pictures of it. And that's half the fun. When I get a chance to try somebody's recipe that I've never thought about using, it's because of Sherry, our Bamla, Sherry Skinner _Skinner. It's because of her that I actually will eat um, certain vegetables that I would never have thought about eating before because the way she was making them tempted me.
TikTok Cowboy's in the house, and just like Granny wants to know what you made
What did I make?
of her recipe.
I was making that damn potatoes and I screwed it up. I don't know. I'm always looking for a new way to make potatoes. And Sherry has made it and it looks so good from you. But I got to tell you, there's a couple that, if you have not seen, so Just Like Granny has a new website, justlikeGranny.com. And I am telling you, she is loading up some of her recipes. They're just so good. And her pictures are even better and they make me want to try everything. So some of our creators have their own items, they have their own recipes that are available. They share them with us. So what I'm doing is I am just working all of this crumble up the sides just a little bit because I want a little bit of a side here to give me a lip.
Okay.
Okay? It's not going to be a lot. And now I'm just adding the rest of the this a little extra. So it's very similar if you've ever made a cheesecake and you're using your graham cracker crust to make your pressure sides. It's just what I'm doing.
Yep.
So you got to. This is one of those recipes you got just. It's a good fun recipe because you're going to have to play with it for a little bit.
You don't have to get your hands dirty.
Yeah, I mean you could do this really cleanly, I suppose, but some days that's all the fun.
TikTok Cowboy showing some love to you.
Thank you. We got some fun fans. I just love how exciting everybody is been when they're watching all of the new content coming out. And the
Share the
comments.
live.
What's that?
I said, I'm telling them, tap the screen, share the live.
All right, so now what I'm going to do, I'm just checking my recipe because I want to make sure. Perfect. So now I've got my cream cheese mixture, and it's going in.
Going in. Hello.
This is not fancy. How many of you went out and have seen or rented or watched it on television, the menu yet? Anybody see that yet?
Menu.
It is this. Yes, it's this disturbingly interesting movie around looking at how people have made the process of fancy cuisine almost ridiculously over the top, and an approach about it. We watched it the other night, and it was very interesting. It's a little gross, but it really laughs at itself in the food industry and how I'm all for fancy occasional fancies, but sometimes you can't take things so serious that you've lost track of what's really good.
Yes.
Now I'm gonna let you follow up. I'm gonna go wash my hands and I'll be right back.
Everybody, thank you for joining FoodTokTV. This is Frank Mentor F cooking for you today. Please tap the screen, share the live. We got 11 people who's joined through sharing the live, so let's get some more in here. Show Frank some love, and also be sure to watch Scrub Mat Monday p.m. Central Standard Time. Sketchy Chef against IBD Warrior, and she is from Australia.
Now
So
remember, once you watch the live, either in real time or you watch it on our YouTube channel, you have 1 week to cast a vote.
So we have some new people in here, Frank. So go ahead and let's tell them what you're making again.
Sure. Today's all about love and ricotta cheese outside of the lasagna. So I am making a ricotta cheese crumble, which is a type of cake. It's not your everyday, it's sort of the marriage of a cheesecake to a crumble cake, or almost like an apple crumble, but with no fruit. So I made a really simple crumble crust. This is a 2-pan deal, 2 bowls. That's all it took. I took 2/3 of that crust. I pressured it down into a greased and lined spring foam pan. Now I'm just taking the rest of it after I poured in a ricotta batter with eggs and sugar and zest of some lemon and oranges, and whip that all together with my hand. I mean, literally everything I did was with a spoon. No fancy equipment today. This is one of those things that you could do. This is one of those recipes like I would tell my niece who may not have any cooking equipment handy. You don't need anything fancy. The fanciest piece of equipment I just used might have been this. Everything else you would have.
The fanciest thing, and you used it backwards, Frank.
What's that?
I said the fanciest thing, and you used it backwards.
And I used it upside down. What that meant, folks, is most people will use a zester this way. I have a really hard hand, and I use both left and right hands. So instead, I hold the fruit and I zest it like I was peeling, so I can visually know how much of the zest I'm getting, and it helps me control going too heavy into the pith, which is bitter. All right, this is ready, folks. This is now ready for prime time.
Ready for prime time. Hello, City Girls Kitchen.
That's going in the oven for 30 minutes.
30 minutes at what temperature?
375.
375.
Let me double check. I had been preheating it, so actually, I'm sorry, 350. I'm using 350. You can use 375 if you're doing nothing else and it's not, and you're not distracted, which is less the case here. So I'm using 350.
There you
Now,
go.
while that bakes, I'm going to show you another dish that is super simple. How many of you? Yes, we just got through the holidays. Nobody wants to think about entertaining, but February's coming, date night's coming. Family and friends you haven't seen are beginning to travel again. So this is one of my super favorite dips to have handy. Now, there are many, many variations of this. This just happens to be one that I like. What I'm trying to encourage people to think about here is this is flexible. Add what you like.
Hello,
I
Justin
got a
from
standard brick of, hey there, standard brick of room temperature cream cheese. I dug into it a little bit this morning because I wanted a little cream cheese on my homemade date nut bread with chopped up walnuts and cranberries and chocolate chips. Because I think date nut bread traditionally here where I grew up in the East Coast always came with a thin coating of cream cheese, that tartness. So I had it. Now I am gonna put traditionally, I would say about 8 ounces. So it's about half cream cheese and half ricotta cheese. Now, in this case, that is about how much I have left over in my container. So really, I was able to use up one container of ricotta cheese, so I don't have leftovers, which is a big deal.
Interrupt just for 1 second. If you want to vote for Grub Match, you can go watch it on YouTube and then go to FoodTokTV.com, click on Grub Match, and then you can vote there.
Exactly.
Sorry, Frank.
I'm just putting a little pinch of salt in here. And now I'm going to get creative. I have this incredible peach preserves. It's from Portugal. And I discovered this last summer and at a Portuguese bakery. And I'm going to put about 2 teaspoons in it. Not a lot, just enough. Do you need to put it in? No, but I like it. And I love preserves. So, normally I might put I have a lemon preserve, but we already did lemon in the other dish, so I'm just using. But this is incredibly good. Any good quality preserve will be nice for this, so don't sweat it. I'm also going to use dried apricots. How many of you have dried fruit left over from the holiday? And and your best intentions for New Year. I'm going to eat more dried fruit. I'm going to try to be a little bit healthier. Yeah, that happens. I love dried apricots. I put them in my cheese boards. I put them in salads. Matter of fact, I do a recipe that Giada does for a chocolate tart with pistachios and apricots. Oh my God. I'm going to do it on a live. I just need a good excuse of when I want to make two because I want to be able to have it cooled so I could show everybody. All right. I am now just going to chop up the dried apricots. Now, if you've never tried a dried apricot, I'm telling you, you're missing out. They have just this great texture to them. They're not hard. When you buy a nice quality one, they're soft. They have this great flavor to them that is almost like candy, but it doesn't. You're not going to break your teeth. Unlike some dried fruit, which are often really very hard. Like dried. When I make the date nut bread, I use dried cherries and dried cranberries. I actually soak them with the dates in water with boiling water with baking soda for probably about 25 minutes until the water's cool to touch to hydronate them to soften them. But I'm telling you, really good dried apricots, they're so soft that they're perfect, and they're relatively healthy. Look how soft they are. Like they're squishy. but they're
Yes.
not going to have a lot of liquid, which is why I like using them. They don't put off, unless you add hot water, they don't put off liquid, but they flavor. They get this great sweetness to them. Now I'm doing a rough chop. I am definitely not making these super, like, I'm not doing, you know, chef's quality mincing and dicing here because it's not needed. This is a topping. This is either going to be a great dip that you can serve with sugar and cinnamon pita chips. You can serve this on top of a hot dish. Like you could serve this dip on top of fresh cornbread, fresh fruit muffins, or a fruit cake that maybe is good but needs a little extra, like, or even a pound cake. This would go really nice. Even just a bowl of strawberries, it would go nice. So lots of opportunities. I'm going to show you the way I like it. So I've chopped this up. It's about, I'm going to say I'm using about a half a cup of the dried apricots in this, give or take.
All right,
And
everybody watching Food Talk TV. This is Frank Mentor SF. Please tap the screen, share the live. Be sure to follow Food Talk TV. We go live. Somebody cooks live every single day, and you can see the schedule at foodtalktv.com.
And I know, I'm going to say this now because I know somebody's going to say it. Nothing I'm making today has vanilla extract. I know that that's rare. I always use vanilla extract in my dishes. I love vanilla extract, but sometimes you gotta change it up. So this one doesn't. This is actually a very clean flavor. You have the dairy absorbing the fruit flavor essence. You have the cream cheese adding just a little extra tartness. And because everything is room temperature, the cheeses have been sitting out about an hour, give or take. I don't even have to use. I'm not even using much force, as you can see here. I'm just making sure it's really incorporated well.
Bama's in the house, Frank.
Hey there. Now,
Just
could
like
you add
this in
could you add
Italian.
other stuff to this, like cinnamon, more sugar? Totally.
Ashton wants to know if this is an Italian dish.
It's a variation on one. Ricotta is by and large is used in Italian cooks cultures. This is one that I think I've seen various recipes for it. It's adapted partially because I used to make a lot of ricotta cakes and realized if I don't put an egg in it, it's good on its own. So it's let's say it is an inspired Italian inspired because Italians have a love of ricotta cheese.
Thrifted
Now I've
Root.
got just some standard clover honey.
Thrifted Root said she misses watching you cook.
Well, I am going to try and commit to doing Thursday afternoons as long as I can, as long as my schedule permits. Because what happens is I end up having to go so late West Coast time that I miss everybody.
Tap the screen, everybody. Tap the screen. Frank, you're over 10K likes.
Oh wow! Thank you, everybody. I'm never sure what I get. Remember, if you don't follow me on my personal TikTok, I'm okay with that because really what I want everybody to do is focus. I don't do as much food on my personal ones these days. I kind of reserve that for you all. But you are welcome to follow me, follow any of our TikTok creators. We are super diverse. We all have levels of expertise and style. I just happen to be a creator who likes to focus on fighting stigma, fighting body imagery issues, age issues, race, ethnicity, orientation. So my platform can be just more of a fun one. But when I'm here on Food Talk, I am all about food.
It's all about
And
food.
hints, hacks, so that we all can do this. So I just added 3 tablespoons of honey. You can add less, you can add more. It's totally up to you.
Do you buy local honey there?
I do. I actually think local honey is better for you because it's attached to it's the bees are in the same environment you are.
We
Oh,
have a
that's
question.
perfect.
somebody that joined late, what can you use the dip on?
Well, you can use it on ice cream. You can use it on pudding, caramel, custards. You can use it on pound cake, blueberry cakes. You can use it on muffins. Or you can get some puff pastry sheets. Layer them, do a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of raw sugar, do 4 or 5 layers of that, then fold them in a quarter, put them in a muffin pan, and bake them for 8 minutes and make little shells. And then all you do is top your ricotta cheese mixture in it. This is rustic. This is not going to be like, oh my good, this is not shishi food. These are the kind of foods that you're having a good night. You want something a little bit decadent feeling, but isn't going to take you 20 hours to make.
Christy Compton said, just put it on a shingle and eat it.
Well, I happen to have a shingle right there, Christy. I made puff pastry shingles. Same idea. And what I would do here is I would actually take the scoop out of my, because these are very, oh gosh, that tastes good. And all I would do is, remember, it's going to be rustic. And when you're dealing with puff pastries, that's why I actually like the pita chips, the sugar and cinnamon pita chips, because they have a tendency not to be quite so fragile. But if you made a pizza version of the phyllo dough, so you made all the layers, you baked it for about 8 minutes so it's crispy, let it cool, and then you actually kept it in a pizza form, you could serve this as a dessert, pizza dessert.
There you go.
And how would you dress it up? Well, let me get to that point now. Pistachios. I think pistachios are I love pistachios. I like them more than probably any other nut.
My favorite snack.
Yep. And they're now not as expensive as they used to be. They traditionally are really expensive, but yep. And I think pistachios go really well with ricotta cheese, with lemon, chocolate. I think a lot of people, tend to go to the standards, walnuts, almonds. Some people like cashews. I don't eat cashews per se, so I never really had them as a kid, so I don't think about them until somebody suggests them. But I find pistachios, whether you get honey roasted or plain, doesn't matter. Get what you like.
Item from my daughter.
Yeah, same household issue here. I'm just topping these with my pistachios.
Just like they're very good for you.
Oh yeah, I would imagine that.
Love V says she loves your glasses. He loves your glasses.
Thanks. I love these glasses. I love this brand. I have 2 of them, and they're one of my favorites. And they're comfortable to wear.
Tap the screen, everybody. Share the live.
All right. So what I am doing now is, if you don't want to serve this, for instance, in a as part of something, this is a great make your own item. You can actually serve this. I'm just kind of cleaning it up in a minute, and you could actually serve this just like this.
There you go.
Put your nice covering of pistachios in this.
Love V is watching from Delaware. Where's everybody else from? Frank's in California. I'm in Texas. Where's everybody watching from? Well, we know Granny's in Sweden. Got Ohio, Oklahoma, Colorado, North Carolina, South Carolina. Ashley Aaron Turner's in the house. Chicago, Virginia, Indiana. Everywhere is from. Everybody's from all over the place.
I like that. So a lot of regional. What
Minnesota.
I did here is I just took a few pieces of the lemon zest that I just cut off old school style because when I would serve this, if I were going to serve this on a plate with chips, or you could even, even if you took a baguette and you toasted the baguette, this would be great on a toasted baguette. And just a bowl of that with chips or baguettes around it. But because I want people to know what's in it, I put the lemon zest on the top.
That's all I need. I need a bag of chips and a bowl of that. I'm good.
Yeah, that's what I say too.
Got someone watching from Canada.
So let's say you don't like nuts. Guess what? You don't have to. You could do the exact same thing. I'll make one for those of you who are less
Thrifted Root,
interested in nuts.
Thrifted Root said bread bowl, no dishes.
Oh, yes. There's a lot of ways to do that. If you actually, can you imagine eating this in a fresh fruit that's pitted that and make that your bowl? They would be just incredible. All right, so you don't like nuts? Great. You don't have to have nuts. What you can do, just add your berries.
Add some berries.
There you go. Super simple.
There you
You've
go.
now got a dessert in less than 15 minutes. That includes an 8-minute bake for your pastry shells. You've got a dip that you could serve as a starter or as an after dinner. Now, if you were doing a cheese course, you've just done a really nice meal, you've done a cheese course, and you want to, but you want to dress it up, this would be perfect to add to a cheese course. It's sweet, it's a little bit decadent, but if you've had a heavy meal and you want to stay and keep people at the table, a couple of years ago we did a New Year's Eve dinner, and I always complain that I work all this food, and then everybody gets up and leaves. So I made everything course by course, and we did a cheese plate. And people were like, "No, I'm so full. How are we going to do a cheese plate?" Well, we stayed at that table for another hour, nibbling, talking, and what ended up happening is we ate the cheese plate. It had fruit on it. It had these great. I found these great miniature fruits, like miniature pears and miniature apples, so that people didn't feel like it was too much. So this is the other way I would serve this.
Just like Granny suggested to put honey and balsamic vinegar on the one with blackberries.
Well, there's already honey in the there is already honey in the mix, but I think balsamic vinegar could be really interesting. I love balsamic vinegar on fruit. I think it's a great partner with that, or even a balsamic glaze would work.
Oh yeah.
So normally, this is. Let me show you what this looks like before I get it. This is what the inside of the date nut fruit bread looks like. You see all that?
Yes, sir.
And it's got walnuts and dried cherries and chopped up dates and chocolate chips. Now, normally with date nut bread, I tend to like it slathered with just a cream cheese. But here's a different way. Now I could use this exact same recipe with the apricot, so it adds a texture to a texture. Now, and that it would be it. That's how I would serve this.
There you go.
Just like that.
Okay,
So
everybody.
let's see where we are. We've got 10 minutes and the cake will be done. Let's go through everything, answer some questions. Why don't we talk about Food Talk, who we are, Grub Match. Let's get people inspired to come visit us on Grub Match.
Everybody, you're watching Food Talk TV. Please follow us. Go to foodtalktv.com. You can look at the website. You can check out Grub Match. You can look at the events, and you know who's cooking on what days because somebody cooks live every single day. You can check out all the creators and see what they're all about. And you can follow them. But Grub Match is 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Monday night will be Sketch Chef and IBD Warrior. So check it out.
All right. So we have a lot going on, and we're always interested. All of our recipes up on the website. You can comment. You can also follow us on Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook now. So lots of that is good. Lots of opportunities.
Ivy
Lots
wants
of ways.
blue plate.
What's that?
Ivy said, "Can we see the blue plate, please?"
You can see the blue plate. So this is the blue plate. Just sticking my berries in.
Look
So I
at
made these are phyllo dough cups. I took store-bought phyllo, separated them out on each layer. I brushed them with oil. I had a lemon olive oil and a little sprinkling of raw sugar, turbinado sugar. I did about 4 layers. Then I folded them in half, did it again, and folded them in half into a quarter, and tucked them into a muffin pan and baked them for about 8 minutes. The flat ones, same difference, except I did about 7, maybe 8 layers, and I didn't fold them. So each one has a layer of crunch, and then baked them for 8 minutes and let them cool. So this becomes another way to actually serve the ricotta and cream cheese and apricot dip.
Ashton. Ashton called that the blue plate special.
That is a blue plate special, let me tell you. You can also very easily serve this. Actually, I'll do it this way. So you could serve this plain. You could serve this with a date nut bread with chips, sugar, cinnamon, pita chips would work really well with this. For those of us grew up with date nut bread, we like a cream cheese. This is the blend. So I can do it as a dip. You can do this as an appetizer. You can do this as part of a cheese course, as a dessert. You can put it on slices of bread. You could put it on, in this case, a fruit bread. You can put it on anything of a sweet cracker taste. You can also put this on pound cake. You can put this on custards. Really, it's where do you think you will like it is where it goes.
Can even put
And
it on a shingle.
any kind of shingle.
Any
Or, and I'm taking Ashton's advice. I had a little bit of honey left in my measuring spoon here, so I'm just going to drizzle that on the fruit one. And that's it. This literally took us less than 30 minutes, and we have a sweet dessert that we could use either as an appetizer, a finishing course, or a really fun dessert. And I'll be honest, if this were up to me, I would just eat it like this with a spoon.
Heck
I
yeah.
mean, yeah,
Kathleen,
I mean it. There's no reason you can't.
it all looks fabulous, Mr. Frank.
All right, let's see how the cake is doing.
That cream.
We've got a little bit of time, let's. If there are questions people have, we've got a bunch of us in the room who are always good about answering questions on cooking, baking, and what we don't know. We'll either give you suggestions on or resources.
The main question is what's your address?
I am always, I think the hardest part of 2 years of COVID has been not being able to entertain because I traditionally like to entertain people, like to have people over for meals. And that has probably been one of my hardest
Anybody,
challenges.
any questions for Mr. Frank? Ask away. Christy Compton says she's on the way.
Okay. Okay. Remember the only thing I say? I think Sherry remembers this. You don't have to like
I,
it, but you got to try it.
and then when you're done eating, you got to do the dishes.
Well, that's a kind of a standard in our house, although maybe not when I'm doing lives, but my household are not big cookers or they're big eaters, but they're not particularly interested in um, preparing a meal. So they have a tendency to do all the cleaning, and I like that, quite frankly.
No questions. Nobody's got any questions.
All right. Oh, sorry. Okay. That's real life, folks. This is what happens in the kitchen. So you know what? Nobody knows.
Nobody
Just
knows.
gonna put it back.
That's exactly why I love these lives. It feels like we're in your kitchen for a party.
You know what? I feel bad for people who are going to get so stressed when they're trying to prepare a meal that they lose the joy of trying something new, because this is all about trying something new.
Got one question, Frank. Temperature you cook the cake at?
350 degree. And I'm going to show you what the cake looks like, and I'm going to have to give you a photograph after the fact because it's still a little wobbly in the center, which means it needs another 10 minutes or so. So if you are on the lookout, I will be posting what the finished version looks like. But let me talk about what's in the cake. So the cake is a really simple cake. It takes 2 pots or 2 mixing bowls. You took flour, baking powder, lemon zest, egg, mixed it up. You want it, and you mix it with your hands so it's a coarse texture, because then you're going to press it down into a springform pan. Then I made a mixture with ricotta cheese, and an egg, and what else did I put in there? What happens when I do 2 recipes? Ricotta cheese, 7 tablespoons of sugar, an egg, and lemon zest. Mix it by hand. There's no fancy equipment with this. You top the crumble, then you take the last third of the crumble that you reserved, you put it on top, you throw it in a 350 degree oven. You can do it up to 375 if you're not doing anything else that's going to distract you. Now, ricotta cheese will solidify as it cools. So this is definitely a recipe that you're going to want to take out of the oven, wait a good 30 minutes. Now, if you make this in a brownie pan, like a rectangle or an oval pan, you can serve it quicker by just serving it scoop style or spoon style and just spoon it into a bowl. But if you let it chill, let it cool, then chill, put it in the refrigerator, it will set up just like a cheesecake will, and you'll end up with nice distinct layers of the crumb base, cream cheese in the center, and we're talking about that much cream cheese, and then a crumb topping, which will then cut into squares or triangles easily. So that what will happen is, because this is still cooking, which sometimes happen, the temperature in this room is chilly, so the stove is working slower. I'll be taking photographs of that, and we'll have it available for you to see on a Food Talk later. Other questions?
Everybody just says it looks delicious, looks great. They want to go eat. They'll do the dishes. How many minutes? It was in the oven for about 30 minutes now, maybe 40.
Right now it's 30 minutes, and I'm thinking it needs another 10. I don't want it to be super jiggly, and I'm using a smaller toaster oven back here because this is the back kitchen. In a regular oven, 30 minutes, that's so big, will probably do you just fine. But again, it's not a perfect science, so it's going to be 30 to 35, 40 minutes. You just want it to be a little more set than wiggly.
And everybody, the recipe will be on FoodTokTV.com. Don't forget about Grub Match, Monday night, 8 Central Standard Time, Sketchy Flay, and IBD Warrior. Go to the website, click on Grub Match, then you can go vote after it, or you can watch on YouTube and go vote when you're done watching it.
That's exactly it. Please join us. Follow us if you're new to us. Follow all of our creators. Brad, thank you for dropping in for lunch.
Frank, I enjoyed it.
Thanks all of our team that jumped in today. I know many of us are out and about and doing things. And folks, try the recipes. What's the worst thing can happen? You'll try a new experience.
Just glad we're
Thanks for joining me for lunch.
Glad we're not in Texarkana, because you know Bama and Sherry and Sketchy are causing trouble.
I don't have my Wheaties enough to keep up with those two. All right, everybody, be safe. I'll be putting a finished post of the finished cake later.
Check us out tomorrow. Sketchy will be on at 4 o'clock.
Take care, everybody.